So the whiskey cake is the best.
The whiskey cake is the best.
Here's the whiskey. And the whiskey preserves it, right? The whiskey and the sugar work together to preserve it.
That's why you cure these cakes. They're not, you can't cut into them when they're done. You have to wrap them up and you have to put them away for weeks at a time.
So note, we're making a Christmas fruitcake and today's December 1st.
Correct. We should have probably made this November 1st, but I wasn't here, so
next year
we will still eat this at Christmas time, but it won't have aged as long as it could have or should have. But
so
it'll still be delicious.
What's the longest you had a fruitcake age?
About 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah.
And was that because you meant to have it age 6 months, or just because no one?
Well, nobody. We didn't finish eating it. I think I'd made 3 that year, and all like one right after another, and we just didn't get around to eating them all. I mean, they're very, very rich, so you don't want to eat a lot of them anyway.
The only people in our immediate family who eat them are you, Dad, and Brendan.
Correct. You and John, I don't think care for fruitcake that well.
Not so much.
Right. Brendan just makes fun of it. No, John just makes fun of it, but Brendan loves it, and he'll eat the whole thing if given the opportunity. And I made a fruitcake last weekend,
a boozer.
and I didn't tell him where it is. So hopefully he won't go through the entire house looking for it. He's in the background saying that he'll find it, but maybe he won't because it's hidden pretty well.
Gotta put his whiskey nose on. So, and then it gets wrapped up in cheesecloth, right?
Nowadays I just use aluminum foil.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I found that when I would use the cheesecloth, that sometimes a little bit of the cloth would unravel onto it, and it's like that real appetizing. So one year I wrapped them in clean new cotton dishcloth, and that was the year that dishcloth ended up in the basement in Northbrook, and a mouse ate it. And when I went downstairs to do laundry, it was staggering around the floor in the basement in the laundry room, and I don't know if it was sick from eating poison or it was drunk from the huge amount of alcohol that was still clinging to the cloth, or just eaten so much that it couldn't stand it anymore, or if it was pregnant and about ready to deliver. But it staggered and wandered off, and I was laughing so hard I just didn't even try and kill it or anything. It was hysterically funny to see this drunken mouse scurrying across the floor in the basement with big holes in the cheese in the cotton cloth that I wrapped the fruitcake in. It was pretty funny. It's a good story. But the first thing now that our pan is ready, is we take the butter and we cut it into chunks and put it in the mixer to get it to the point where it can get soft.
So we cream it now?
We have to cream it now. And then as this is creaming, we can take a look at the nuts and fruit that go into it, because the nuts are going to need to be chopped, and the cherries need to be cut in half if they aren't already cut in half. I think this year the green ones are already cut in half, but the red ones need to be cut in half. And you have to measure all the fruit so that you're not putting in too much fruit. Otherwise the batter won't be able to cling to all of it, and it just won't turn out well.
And the fruit in this one is red cherries, green cherries, pineapple, regular raisins, and golden raisins.
That's right.
So a traditional fruitcake, like a super, super traditional one, wouldn't have the pineapple in it.
No, it would have that citric
citron
stuff, the citron and the lemon and lime and orange peel. But they're nasty. I don't understand why anybody, I guess in the old days, that would have been a nutritional benefit, since the people needed to get vitamin C in their systems to stay healthy, and they had to be able to use up the fruit and the vegetables that they had. A lot of things got dried, a lot of things got candied, A lot of things were pickled to because they didn't have refrigeration, and that's one of the ways you'd end up using up your surplus fruits and vegetables is cooking like this. But they're still nasty. I don't understand why anybody would eat anything like that. They're hard and they're bitter, and that's not what I consider good in a cake. So I never used that stuff. I tried it once, hated it, would never use those things again in my fruit cake.
So do you always use walnuts or do you ever use pecans?
No, I have another recipe that's just maraschino cherries and pecans, eggs and sugar, and like a tablespoon of flour to help hold it all together. It's an odd recipe, and it's like a gooey mess that you have to smash into an aluminum foil lined greased pan.
That sounds really appetizing.
Well, actually, it's just cherries and pecans and sugar, and it is one of my favorite recipes. But I haven't made it for years because I'm the only one that likes it, and I don't need to eat that stuff. So
I'm not a big fan of maraschino cherries, I think, is the issue.
well, they're okay, but it's kind of a troublesome recipe to make, and but it's good. And when you cut it real thin and put it on a plate with other kinds of fruit cake, if you make more than one or two kinds of fruit cake, it's so distinctively cherries and pecans that people that like that will go for that every time, and it's pretty good.